Hello. My report is all about the rise of classical civilization. We will be talking about what it is and how it affects the world as we know it today. So, by definition, mm, classical civilization is also known as the classical antiquity. It is a broad term for a long period of cultural history centered on the Mediterranean Sea, which begins roughly with the earliest recorded Greek poetry of Homer, which we are all familiar with, Iliad and Odyssey, on 17th century BC and continues through the rise of Alexander the Great and the fall of Roman Empire, which is around 5th century AD, ending in the dissolution of classical culture with the close of late antiquity. So, in other words, it is the oldest known civilization that left lasting effect culturally, politically, and socially in history. Classical civilization was made up of four major civilization or four major nations, which are the Greece or the Greeks, Rome, India, and China. So, among four of these, in my own opinion, Greece left the most lasting and uh, so many history that affects our society as what it is today. So first we will be talking about the Greece politics. So Greece invented democracy as what we know it today. They also invented or created what they call the city-states, came up with the written code of law, and of course the civil service. So we will be talking about the democracy first. Okay, if all of the contributions of the ancient Greece to the modern culture, arguably the greatest is democracy, which is itself a Greek word literally meaning people power. Okay, the democratic vision in city-states as the Athens embodied the ideals of legal equity, personal freedom, and governance by the people. Okay, these principles have been influential around the globe, shaping political institutions, revolutionary movements, and even the spirit of society itself. But democracy that we know today was not like that in the time of the Greeks. Although we can call it democracy, by their time, only a few select people have what we call the political power in shaping or deciding what the state or the city wants to do. So, from aristocratic families have more power than ordinary citizens like the artisans or the farmers, but they have created sort of stepping stone for the democracy that we are uh, experiencing today. So, by the power of that democracy, they also created or made what they called a city-state. Okay, each state had its own form of government and its own army and even sometimes its own navy. And each city-state certainly its own way of doing things. Okay, the city-states of ancient Greece had many things in common. They all spoke the same language, they all believed in the same gods, they all worshipped in the same way, and they all thought of themselves as Greek, but they were loyal to their city-states. So the five most powerful city-states in ancient Greece were Athens, Sparta, Corinth, Megara, and Argos. Athens was the one who invented or created the democracy, and four or the other states have adopted it. So next we'll be talking about the written code of law. Okay, the first Greek written law was driven by Draco around 621 BC and was called Draco's law. Okay, it was written in 12 tablet stones and placed in the central marketplace so that people could read it and could abide on it. So in recorded history, this is the first law that was written and could be read by anybody. So in ancient times, law was not written in any sort of paper or stone, but was passed with the word of mouth. So, which means that you will know uh, the law of the land by asking people or by them telling you if you are a tourist or a traveler by that time. So next we will talk about civil service. Okay, Greeks hired and paid government officials to collect taxes and oversee government works. Although the position is open to all, people who are member of an aristocratic family usually occupies the position. Later on, ordinary people like farmers and artisans occupy such government position. So, by the word civil service, anybody can serve the government, which I think is only effective in the democratic form of government. So, ordinary people could have been hired to serve the government. So, in ancient Greece, they are the one tasked to collect taxes and oversee government works. So, when the democracy was invented or created in its earliest form, although we could call it a people power, but again, as it is stated here, only a few are given the opportunity to serve for the government. But and again, it was later open to all. Next, we will be talking about Greek architecture and visual arts. So, aside from politics, Greece also contributed a lot in terms of architecture and visual arts to the world, which is always present even until this time. So we'll be talking about the ideal versus the real sort of thinking by the Greeks, well, the golden proportion, and of course the Parthenon. Excuse me, wrong spelling. Ideal versus real. Greece loves to portray through their sculpture what they think would be an ideal human body versus what is real. So you could see that their sculptures or their figures is like a perfect human being or a god or a goddess in the form of a human. So they did not include in their sculpture what is physically present but what they think would be the ideal human body or the ideal proportion of the thing. So they also created what we call the golden ratio. Okay, the golden section or the golden ratio is based on a number pi 1.618. The golden section of ratio is ratio or proportion defined by the number pi. Okay, the ratio of the large segment to the small segment. So this is used or this was used in creating what architectures called the architectural beauty, which is the Parthenon. So the Parthenon is a Greek building offered to the gods, which uses the golden proportion or the golden ratio to be built. So there is a one replica of this, I think, located at Nashville, Tennessee, in USA. So the golden proportion helped created the Parthenon, which is considered one of the wonders of the world. It is also present in the modern art, especially in photography and graphic design. So designers or artists still uses uh, the golden proportion or the golden ratio in their art. So next would be Greek literature. So we know most of the Greek literature in our high school days. So we have uh, their famous tragedies and comedies, which includes Iliad and Odyssey, and they also invented what we call the amphitheater. See, Iliad and Odyssey is an ancient poem in dactylic hexameter traditionally attributed to Homer. Okay, set during the Trojan War. Okay, the 10 years siege of the city Troy by a coalition of Greek states. It tells of the battles and events during the week of a quarrel between King Agamemnon and the warrior Achilles, which was also portrayed by uh, Brad Pitt in the movie Helen of Troy. So basically, the idea was the same. So although it was first thought as a fictional um, story, later on scientists or historians discovered that the story of Iliad and Odyssey really took place in ancient Greece. So it was also considered as one of the most heralded Greek literature by its time, even up to today. Next, we have what we call the amphitheater. So amphitheater is uh, a landmark or a building or whatever you may call it, where um, Greeks show their tragedies, their drama, their poetries, which is in the form of a semicircle. So the stage is below the amphitheater, and the the chairs or the seats are arranged from the bottom up to the top, which uh, they explain amplifies the sound more, and everybody could hear and everybody could see in this form of setting. So, Greeks also was into sports. They valued human strength and performance. So it is uh, not shocking that they invented the Olympics. The first marathon was run in Greece during a war between other nation, in which a soldier ran 42 kilometers, which was the basis, of course, of how marathon or how long a marathon is run today. And after he died. So, so we could say that this is linked to their idea of what is real and what is ideal. So they admire people who have uh, muscles and ideal bodies, sort of. So another contribution of Greece in the society is their advancement in mathematics and philosophy. So they have produced some of the most renowned philosophers in the world. So a few of them to name are Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. So Socrates was the first um, major philosopher in ancient Greece, and Plato was his apprentice or his student, and Plato's student is Aristotle. So we could say that they are linked with each other. Okay, Socrates championed the use of reason. He thought that individuals should be guided by the reason alone in their search for knowledge and truth. He used reason to challenge traditional ideas, which led to his death because of his idea or his philosophy. So they figured out that if this would uh, spread, uh, Socrates would have an army of thinkers that would question every Greek tradition that there is present. So they feared that it would overtake the government in some time, or it would erase the culture. Next is Plato. Again, as I have said, he is a student of Socrates. He believed that an ideal state should be based on the idea of justice or ideal of justice. Okay, the satisfaction of common good. It would have three classes. First, the workers to produce the basic necessities, then the soldiers to defend the state, and the philosophers to govern in the public interest. So next is Aristotle. Okay, Aristotle is the most brilliant student of Plato's academy. When Plato died, he left Athens and was hired by King Philip of Macedonia to teach his son Alexander, who was later on known as Alexander the Great. When Alexander inherited the throne, he gave Aristotle a generous gift of money. Aristotle used the money to establish the Lyceum, and it became the world's first scientific institute in Greece. Okay, next we go on from Greece to Rome. So Rome was not a massive empire as it was known at first. First, it was just a republic. Then later on, it became an empire. So Rome was famous because of its contribution to the world, mainly the spread of Christianity and making it a republic, and of course the engineering and architecture. Okay, Rome isn't in its greatest and highest power was an empire of many religions. Each religion was honored and recognized by emperor and empire's official. It was not until 312 AD when Constantine marched into Rome that Christianity was made the official religion of Roman Empire. He then moved the capital from Rome to Constantinople. So the main reason why um, Constantine moved the capital from Rome to Constantinople because he believed that Rome was full of pagans and they did not believe in a single god. They basically have many religions. That's why it was cursed. There were plagues there and here. Economy is sliding down. So basically, it was falling down. So Constantine made a move, transferring the capital from Rome to Constantinople and making Roman Catholic or Christianity as its official religion. So before Christianity or before Roman Catholic was made an um, official religion in the Empire of Rome, Christians were persecuted uh, um, because of their idealism or because of their attitude. Although the empire has suffered a lot through plagues and economic downfall, Christians don't lose their faith, but instead they have a positive outlook on life. So when Rome fall, they had to have something to be an scapegoat or something to blame of what is happening. So they blame the Christians. That's why many Christians were persecuted in the times before Constantine arrived. Um, so the Republic of Rome, before Rome became an empire, it was just a small republic guided by its people's loyalties, especially seen in its soldier called legions in defending republic from foreign invaders. Okay, the republic's form of government was inspired by the Greeks' democracy, but it was improved and made effective. Even the republic got bigger because of the system they developed called representation. It is similar in today's democratic government where public officials are elected to represent a group of citizens. So a senate or a congressman or a mayor would be the one to represent his constituent. Okay, Roman engineering and architecture was basically influenced by the Greece or by the Greeks, but it expanded its uh, leaps. Roman engineering and architecture is inspired by the Greeks, but unlike the ideal versus real ideology of the Greeks, Romans prefer real over ideal. So one of the most what do you call that? One of the most highlighted or most um, famous architectural landmark of the Greeks or of the Romans was the what do you call it? The dome, the Colosseum, I think, where gladiators fight during the time of the Roman Emperor. So it was heralded as one of architectural greats during its time because if you see the Colosseum as of today, it is almost uh, 3 to 4 stories high, made out of four of stones only, diba? Without even the support of uh, bars. Next, we will go on to the heritage of India and China and what they contributed to the world. Okay, we will go to India first. Okay, India contributed in what we call the city planning to the society. They also contributed in mathematics, astronomy, yoga, Buddhism and Hinduism, and they also championed the role of women in society. So, city planning was not that common among the ancient world. So, India introduces this first. So, city planning in which they they created a city made out of of multi-story brick houses and also includes drainage system. So we could say that this is the start of the modern city planning, wherein you have to identify a, what you call that, a place or a site where you could build a house and have an irrigation or drainage system for it to be lived for a long time. Okay. Also, Indians are good in math. So, as most of the world's leading programmers in information technology nowadays are from India. So, it was Arab Aryabhata, an Indian who discovered the number zero, which allowed the society to count. Okay, the current number system is also invented by the Indians. Okay, these discoveries paved the way to modern scientific development. Okay, this is the cornerstone upon which the entire modern science and technology developed. Okay, they also have contributed in astronomy. Okay, Aryabhata is the first person to measure the distance between the sun and the earth accurately. He also pointed that earth rotates on its own axis and is the first person to explain the concept of an eclipse scientifically. Okay. Ancient Indians also developed and used many instruments to measure time. Among the notable ones are the water clocks and sundials. They also developed several astronomical instruments which include Shanyuk Yantra, or known as the Gnome, Shaya Yantra or shadow instrument, and many angle measuring instrument. They also invented yoga, okay, a form of exercise or a form of meditation method that was developed in ancient India. Even today, many people across the world practice this meditation, and yoga will keep your mental and physical health in order. It is believed that good practice of yoga keeps you away from many dangerous diseases. Many researchers suggest that yoga is a better preventive medicine for many incurable disease. So it will keep you or help you maintain a healthy body and a healthy spirit and mind. They also introduced Buddhism and Hinduism to the world. Ancient India is also the birthplace of many religions, including Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism. Okay, all these religions are coexist in India today. Okay, India is the only country that produces this many religion and still be able to balance diverse religious atmosphere. So um, that's why people in India are interesting, I guess. Okay, India also introduced the role of women in society. In ancient history or ancient civilization, women did not participate or have a minimal participation when it comes to society, uh, to issues that involve society. Ancient Indian gave women greater importance. In fact, they enjoyed equal status with men. Scholars believe that many civilizations at the time did not give equal rights to women. They educate women in Vedic period. Women used to get married at a mature age and free to select their husbands. So, if women are fighting for women rights today, I guess they have this um, basis for their fight. Okay, last but not the least, we will be talking about the contribution of China to the world. So they invented abacus, they produce paper, gunpowder, alcohol, mechanical clock, silk, iron, and steel melting, and porcelain. Okay, abacus is the Chinese development. It is a counting device around 100 AD. By the 1300, it was perfected and given the form that it still has today. So abacus is also one of the inspiration of building the modern day computer that we always enjoy today. Whether we surf, we do our um, um, academic requirements, or even the contact lab ones. So, abacus is a real or a nice invention by the Chinese. Okay, Chinese also develop or produce paper as what we are using today. Okay, in almost every respect, the Chinese were at the forefront of European developing the printed word in 105 AD. Okay. Chi Lilon invented the process of manufacturing paper. Okay, introducing the first use in China, the paper was superior in quality to be baked clay papyrus on parchment used in other parts of the world by 593 AD. Okay, the first printing press was invented in China, and the first printed newspaper was also available in Beijing in 700 AD. Chinese also discovered or produced gunpowder. Okay, gunpowder, the first explosive substance mankind learned to use, and also one of the four great inventions of ancient China. Okay, the invention of gunpowder should in a way be attributed to alchemists of ancient China who drew inspiration from the fire ignition of pill-making process during which sulfur, niter, and other substances were used. They were subsequently created the formula for gunpowder. When the formula was in the hands of strategists, the gunpowder was turned into black powder and was used in warfare. Chinese also discovered alcohol. Newly unearthed evidence suggests that we have the Chinese to thank for inventing alcohol. Analysis of a 9,000-year-old pottery shards found in Henan province revealed the presence of an alcohol. 1,000 years before, inhabitants of the Arabian Peninsula, previously believed to be the first brewers, researchers from the University of Pennsylvania used a combination of chemical, archaeobotanical, and archaeological techniques to study dried organic materials found at the base of the jar. Okay, they also invented the mechanical clock. Okay, the mechanical clock is an invention we all use today. According to historical research, the world's first clock was invented by Yi Xing, a Buddhist monk and mathematician of the Tang Dynasty. Yi's clock operated with water steadily dripping on a wheel that made a full revolution every 24 hours. As time went on, clocks were made with an iron bronze system of hooks, pins, locks, and rods, but still followed Yi Xing's clock's design. Hundreds of years later, Su Song, an astronomer and mechanist of Song Dynasty, created a more sophisticated clock, making him an ancestor of the modern clock. Ancient Chinese also uh, invented silk. It is produced by silkworms. However, it is Chinese people that invented how to harvest the silk and use it in clothing and paper 1,000 years ago. The oldest silk which was found in Henan province came from Chinese Neolithic period and dates around 3630 BC. So silk was a commodity during the ancient world. The if you have silk, you could be considered as um, a rich person or a rich family. Okay. China also invented or discovered iron and steel melting. It has been confirmed by archaeological evidence that iron made from melting pig iron was developed in ancient China in the early 15th century BC during the Zhou dynasty. During the Shang dynasty to the Eastern Zhou dynasty, China went into a flourishing period of steel smelting. And last but not the least, porcelain. Okay, porcelain is a very specific kind of ceramic produced in extreme temperatures of kiln. Porcelain, of course, originated in China, which how China gets its name. So again, these are some of the contributions of the four ancient civilization, which greatly affects the society as we know it today. Most of them are still here, and some of them are improved but uses the same body of systems that were used before in ancient civilizations. Thank you and goodbye. Ching. Ching.